So technically, at that time, Imam Jamil was left out there by himself. Other people was in exile. He was the only one that made the transition to Islam and was living the transition, right? He living the transition. That's why we got to hurry up and get him out, because nobody lives forever. Okay. So the Negro, and this is in the driver's seat. We're in the driver's seat because we worked for it, we want to be here, and we know what to do with it. Okay, and we know what to do with it. So the platform is a God-given platform. The other thing is, what killed everyone else just made us sick. You know, whatever killed the other leaders of the movement and the other organizations, it ain't killed us, never have. It just make us sick a little bit. You know, in other words, the poison is so thick that it kill everybody. Except, you know, it may give you a headache. That's the way we look at it. Everything that killed every black movement and everyone that was real and all the people in it, if it killed them, it gave us a headache. That's the way we look at it. Why? Because we're still here. And we're not mild-mannered about it. Nor are we misguided. We are attacking the real enemy of humanity. You see what I mean? We're not picking a favorite guy that we want to tussle with him because he fight just the way we like the fight to go. No, we picking on the one that's the most dangerous for humanity. That's the Zionist. Okay? Okay. I was going to talk about driving Miss Daisy, but I don't want to get too mixed up at what that would mean. About preparation for Black History Month, that's in a few days, so we'll be writing an outline, and we'll have two. We'll have the one for the first part of the month and one for the second part of the month, although they'll have so we'll be writing that up this evening, and tomorrow, hopefully we'll have it back by Tuesday. That's the first, isn't it? Tuesday? I think Tuesday is the first, because today's the 30th, tomorrow's the 31st, then, okay. No, that means that Black History Month, we're going to do a special series. It won't be one program like for this month. And I want everybody to understand, for this cycle, we started having the programs again. The first one was this month, wasn't it? Yeah, there was just, okay, and this is the second one. Yeah, this is just the second one. The first one we had was on the 2nd, and then this one on the 30th. Okay, all those were warm-up periods. All of those were warm-ups just to get the feel of everything. Black History Month will be finer tuned, more comprehensive outlines, and specific lectures talking about the evolution of the Islamic movement in North America as it relates to us, as it relates to the immigrant community, as it relates to the whole world. We'll wrap it up by talking about where we fit in the worldwide movement. You have to remember, no matter what anybody thinks, we fit smack dab in the middle of the global Islamic movement. And although it was over 25 years ago that Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui was talking about it, he was pointing them in our direction. So what happened if the leader is pointing at, right? That means he got to know something was going on and something he wasn't picking up by all of his friends, those other guys. All those other guys were Pakistanis, Arab, they was all around him. So why he pointed me? Because he could tell something he could pick up from all those years of programs. Whenever we had a program, we would walk and talk. And I thought it was just one. But then when I heard what I said, what is he talking about? And so a lot of people, what did he mean by that? I would just tell, I don't know. But you could hear it, right? And everybody could hear it. And everybody in South Africa could hear it. And they knew what it meant. And they got busy unraveling what he meant. Muhammad al-Asi led the janazah in London. And they didn't even send me no message about when the janazah was going to be, what is that, They didn't do that. They didn't want me there, right? Everything that they started doing in London right away was to dismember his organization. From the very top, the people that was in number 2. So we're not the only ones. All of the movements, if the top guy was a good man, like he was, right? Then all assistants and all associates was the police. Why? Because every one of them did exactly what was harmful to the movement. They disbanded it. That whole movement structure. Majlis Ashura Islamiyya Free Britannica. Disbanded. And it worked very well. It worked very well. They collected and distributed zakat, a non-territorial government. They didn't dismantle care and all them groups. Why they dismantle? Why they dismantle the only one that was working with a muttaqi leader at the top? He was there, and when you look at it after he passes away, everybody is wearing a jersey that says police. Well, when I look at them and their behavior, that's what I see. It's just clear. And everybody else could see it too if they would realize, well, who was designated? Because that was the buzz for a while in South Africa, and that means such and such. It's just like it's a long story. It's kind of like Gadia Kum. Anybody know about? Okay, yeah. There's certain things the Prophet ﷺ said about certain people, and after the Prophet, peace be upon him, died, they act like they all forgot. And then there's a hadith, a good hadith right in front of everybody. It's almost exactly the same thing. Well, if I'm your Mawla, if I'm your leader, then the Mawla after me would be this guy over here. You don't like that guy. We don't like him, right? It's not that they don't like him because everybody's jumping up and down, so we just love him. But they're not incorporating, they're not using. I would say, I never used it before, but that's a very close association of what happened with us and what happened at the beginning of or at the transition period of Islam. It was clear it was said, this is da 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 da, and everybody else looked up like, they're not mystery people. They're still giving lectures and talks. You can turn them on TV. They'll pop up on TV, right? But they heard what was going on, and they knew what it meant. They can't say we don't know what it means. We have psychoparaplegia or something. Anyway, let me continue. Stalingrad to Oakland. We've talked about this many times. We have to understand D.C. and we have to understand Oakland. Those are still the critical points that we see, one on one coast and one on the other. What I'd like for people to see is that out of that big challenge that came out of Oakland, when you look in California, what's the worst place in California right now on your TV? Is Oakland. Has fallen apart. It's fallen apart. It's not falling apart, it has fallen apart. Driving down now is twice as bad as when I was there the last time, 2.5 times as bad, according to what the papers say. It looks just like those shanty towns in South Africa look. It looks exactly like, that's what it looked like 2.5 years ago. Now it's 2.5 times as bad as it was then. Don't worry about it. We got a big job to do out there. That's where our first masjid is, or was. When we say from Stalingrad to Oakland, what does that mean? That means, in a military sense, the German army had during World War II, had great victories. And its victory, when it attacked, at that time, the Soviet Union, man, that it almost ran all over the Soviet Union till it got to Stalingrad. And at Stalingrad, anybody see the movie Enemy at the Gates? Enemy at the Gates, about the snipers and stuff? Yeah. Yeah, that's close to reality. That's what Stalingrad looked like. And what they did was, the German army worked against its own development, because all of that, from the border, the Polish border and all that, when in June 41, when the Russians were invaded by the German army, they rolled all the way over. They just didn't read history. You're invading in the summer. Napoleon found out something about what's called the Russian winter. Can you imagine the Russian? Well, you can't imagine the Russian winter. This stuff we have around here is like holiday weather. It's a holiday. I wouldn't even want to. When I was up in Europe, we used to call the wind who, because if you left the window kind of cracked a little, who would blow that ice up in, and you would be sitting in here in this nice warm place like this, and it's a crack, and it would be blowing that ice into, it'd be icicle inside the place. That's why we called it who. I mean, it was cold. That was not in Russia. That was in Europe, Denmark, Sweden, places like that, which it get cold there, but it don't get the same cold. Anyway, so the winter broke the back of the German army, just like the winter broke the back of Napoleon's army 100-something years earlier. They wouldn't even read history to see, well, when is a good time and how should we do this? It was just arrogance and insanity. Now, it's good. It's good. Maybe, 28 million Russians died? Can you imagine how many people that is? 28 million. That's a lot of people. America had flags everywhere, and I think they didn't lose, but the Civil War, they lost the most, using them old blunderbuss and stuff, killing everybody. 600 and some thousand people in the Civil War. But they didn't lose. What did they lose in World War II? A couple of million, few million or something like that. It was 50,000 Vietnam, 50,000 in Korea. And it wasn't many. But the Russians lost, my goodness, 28 million people. And all we heard about over here was D-Day. The Americans invaded on D-Day, Omaha Beach and all that. Man, the Russians had already whooped the Germans. Was when they wanted to punish you in Germany, they would put you on the Eastern Front going up against the Russians. Anyway, when we say from Stalingrad to Oakland, that means we have already been through the toughest part of